On this area, I can start with the front skirt pattern, but I feel that I will be saving more fabric if I start with the back skirt pattern. So, I will remove the fold here and instead reverse this fabric this way. And I will get first the back skirt pattern. As you can see, I will be getting the right side of the back skirt first. Since I want an overlap slit here, first of all, the length of the slit will depend on the length of the skirt and your preference. With my skirt slit, I would like the slit to run until 7 inches or 18 centimeters. So I will mark this. From the edge of our fabric, I will go in 3 inches or 7.5 centimeters and place the pattern paper on the edge of our tape measure on the center back. This is because I want an overlap slit of 1.5 inches or 3.8 centimeters, or if you want to round this off to 4 centimeters. So I will start pinning the pattern on the fabric this way. Then again, I will make sure that I have 3 inches or 7.5 centimeters so that I know that I am on the grain of the fabric. Then I pin the waistline area, the corner of the waistline and the side seam, and the corner of the side seam and the hemline area. So now we will put in the hemline allowance. For the skirt, we need 1.5 inches or 3.8, or if you want to round this off to 4 centimeters for the fold of the hemline allowance. Now here, for the side seam, we will need 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters sewing allowance. For the waistline, again, we will need 1 inch or 2.5 centimeter sewing allowance. This is for the beginners. Usually for the skirt, a 1/2 of an inch or 1.3 centimeter sewing allowance is fine. As you can see, we have a longer fabric here. So we will lay out the other side of our skirt on this area of our fabric. Now, we have to be conscious that the print of the fabric is going on a one direction. So, we have to reverse our fabric this way. So that, the flowers are facing up. See, it's following the direction. So, this will be the right side of our skirt, as you can see. And this will be the left side of our skirt. The flowers are, as I said, facing up. Okay? So, we will place this cut pattern here on the reverse side of our fabric, and we will pin it. We will transfer the pin. Oops, we have to start on from top to bottom. Now, we will start cutting our fabric. So this is the slit mark or the start of our slit. So I will just extend the line. So from this mark, I will cut a 1-inch sewing allowance. And for the zipper allowance, I will leave a 1/4 of an inch or 0.6 of a centimeter sewing allowance. So we have an overlap slit. To best remember this will be the right side of our skirt. And this will now be the one with an excess fabric or the underlap. So we will fold this until the edge of the zipper allowance. And for the left side of our skirt, we will cut this. So as not to make a mistake, we will just leave a 1/4 of an inch or 0.6 of a centimeter allowance. Actually, we should cut until this line, but the fold of our right side of the skirt. But I just left 1/4 of an inch or 0.6 centimeter allowance, just to make sure I don't cut on the folded part of our fabric. So now, again, so not to confuse you, we have the front bodice pattern and the back skirt pattern completely cut. Okay, now we will refold our fabric. Maybe we should cut here because this will be wasted if we don't use it. So we will fold our fabric this way. So we need 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters sewing allowance here. So we have to refold our fabric. Again, we have to make sure that our fabric is on grain. Again, this is the selvage, the other side of the selvage or end of the fabric. And we just want to make sure that we're on grain. Then, when we lay out our fabric, there's a little cut here. That's why we're avoiding this. When we lay out our fabric, just don't take for granted that you have excess fabric here. Make sure that the sewing allowance that you will need for the waistline is fully covered, even at the back. And we need a 1 inch sewing allowance on the waistline curve so we can start our pinning process. We pin here on the top of the center front going downwards. We always start from the top, so we might as well just start from the top of the center of the fabric or the pattern paper downwards. Then we can start pinning the waistline area. Now we're pinning the side seam and the hemline area. For the hemline, we will need a 1.5 inches or 4 centimeters hemline fold allowance. While for the side seam, we will need a 1 inch or 2.5 centimeter sewing allowance. You can see that this is a little curve here. Now for this waistline, we also need a 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters sewing allowance. Okay, we now have the front skirt pattern cut. Now we will be cutting the back bodice pattern. Since this is a one-directional print, we have to cut the pattern pieces for the back one at a time. But since we have enough fabric, we did not do what we did for our back skirt. We can actually just refold our fabric and reverse this fabric this way. Then we will have to make sure that our fabric is on grain by laying the selvages on top of each other. Then we can lay out our pattern this way. So you see, both sides of our back bodice pattern will have the print going in one direction. So now we can start pinning this together. Okay, we start from the center top to the center bottom of the pattern. You can also pin the middle part. Shoulder area. Since this is a wide neckline, you can also pin somewhere here if you want. Again, on the shoulder area and the armhole area. On the corner of the armhole and the side seam. And here, on the corner of the side seam and the waistline. For the waistline, we will need 1 inch or 2.5 centimeter sewing allowance. Now for the neckline, we will need 1/2 of an inch or 1.3 centimeters sewing allowance. As you can see, I'm not cutting it this way but following the curve of the neckline. And for the shoulder line, we need 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters sewing allowance. For the side seam, we will also need 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters sewing allowance. And for the armhole curve, we will need a 1/2 inch or 1.3 centimeter sewing allowance. Okay, we've got the back bodice pattern.